Go inside the studio with the Ricky Harris Media Podcast. Here's your host, Ricky Harris.
The Ricky Harris Media Podcast. Thanks, everybody, for checking it out. And if your friends may be interested in doing this, or just simply interested in the insides of what goes on in the studio, what goes on to make the productions that we love, the music we love, tell them to subscribe. Share the link to them. We're on Spotify, also on iHeartMedia and iTunes. Just search Ricky Harris Media. So I talked last month about Ivan Kaufman, a friend of mine from a long time ago. We go back to our childhood. Both of us are big into cars, and both of us are big into the arts, whether it be music, movies, a paint job on a car, a painting, all of the arts. And he is an actor, and he's been acting for quite a while now, and he has a credited role. And the movie is called Destiny, A Love Story Gone Wrong, and it's available on Tubi. That's Tubi. Tubi is great. I actually discovered this before he was on there, before I knew he was doing this project. Shot this in Atlanta, January of 2023. And it's available now for streaming for free with ads. And I think that's a great platform. We're starting to see more and more of these pop up, these streamers that are ad-supported. And if you have an internet connection, you can check it out. It's Tubi. You've probably seen ads for it. But check it out. The movie's called Destiny, A Love Story Gone Wrong. And here's the beginning of it. And you will hear Ivan in his speaking role.
Stu.
That's me. I'm with my boyfriend, Romeo. And we're about to rob one of the biggest illegal gambling spots in the city. I had a feeling something was going to go terribly wrong. But let's start at the beginning.
Shorty! Shorty, where you at, girl? I know you back here. Ah, fuck! Who put this door in there? Shirley! 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 I'm playing, girl. I know you want. Reading books. Shirley! Come on now! Shirley! Here. This.
Grandma Shirley set the wheels in motion. She didn't even know it at first.
Listen, look at me. I don't want to hurt you. I want to love you. You understand? Let's play a game.
How'd we get here? Well, this story started before I was even born.
So that was Ivan in Destiny, A Love Story Gone Wrong. Oh, my God. That scene that's messed up, right? And sort of warning on the language on that after the fact, of course. But that's a messed up scene. But man, that it still gives me chill bumps. It's a creepy ass movie. But it's thrilling and really well done. And I was going back and watching this and preparing for this episode, and I saw him sweating a little bit. And he told me, he says, I asked him if that was on a soundstage. He's like, no, that was an apartment. And he said it was very hot. So apparently the air wasn't on. Well, that's annoying. I told him about my experience on set in Covington, Georgia, was the exact opposite. We were outside a good portion of those 3 days that I was shooting, and it was extremely cold. Especially the very first day where I had my Camaro in that production. My Camaro has heat. It had heat from the factory, did not have air conditioning from the factory as far as I know. But the heat doesn't work. So it was, oh, wow, I think it was right at freezing. Which, for Georgia, that's pretty cold. Man, we're not used to that. But, yeah, I had to be on set at 7:45 a.m. So, yeah, I was driving this at about 4 in the morning with no heat. And, it's an older car. It's a little drafty. I froze my ass off. I was so glad to get on set. And I'm still new to this. I'm still a newbie, and I want you to follow along, and I'll report back. And those of you that have done this, you can report back on your experiences. This seems like this is kind of the normal. So background actors we met at the mill. So the mill is where they actually build the set. So this was at the sound stages in Covington, and there's heat in there, but mainly, it's just it's closed off. So at least you don't have the wind. It was probably still like 50 something in there, but man, it felt so hot in there after that cold ride in. But man, it was worth every second. That was quite a long day, but pretty typical of shooting. It was about a 12-hour day. So I wrapped about 7 p.m. that night. But absolute blast. Driving the Camaro, they gave me a radio, and I was able to chat back and forth between the production assistants and kind of guided us through. And it was cool because I love that radio, because that way you can kind of get in the moment and you're not distracted by, visual cues. You just got it on the radio. I just had it sitting on my center console, and I was just listening to that feed. Now, the first couple of takes, they had me on the wrong channel. So there's multiple channels on these radios. So I was listening to, I guess, BG background for the actual pedestrians. I guess that's what I was hearing. And I heard background action. So I pulled my Camaro out, started driving. And I was way, way too early. And they were like, oh, stop. They stopped me when I come back through. And they're like, can you hear me? I was like, no, I can't hear you. I was like, oh, you're on the wrong channel. Okay, click, click, click. And the next take, yeah, they apologized for that on the radio. I clicked transmit and chimed in. I'm like, no, it's okay. It's just part of it. That is a part of the reason why these productions take so long. I'll never forget watching a car show where this technician from this shop wanted to go watch a commercial. Oh, this will be fun. This is a Dynamax, I think it was Dynamax mufflers commercial. And he was thinking, oh, this will be fun. This will be a 30-second commercial. I'll go down and check it out for a couple hours. I was there. This is him saying this. I was there all day long. 8 hours to shoot a 30-second commercial. And that's really how it goes sometimes. And yeah, more so than not. So definitely keep that in mind when you're shooting. Long days, cold days, hot days. Still, at the end of the day, you're on set making it happen. Part of the action, part of the crew. And you definitely get that sense of family. Always love that. I love that about my current job, my day job. And I love that about television and radio. It's a big family, and you definitely get that. We're all working towards the same goal, is making this look realistic and putting our passion and our own artistic take on the role onto the screen. Absolute blast. So I want to take a moment and talk about your social media presence. It's very important. And different people will tell you different things, but what I've learned is your social media presence needs to be an exact extension of your personality, not, complete opposite of what you're doing in acting. You don't want to put something forward that's not true or exaggerated, but you want a prospective employer or prospective production company director of casting to look at this and know you. That is extremely important. Also, what's important is demo reels. Demo reels, for the most part, show a casting agency, a casting director, your range. Range meaning not necessarily like vocal range, like, no. Your range as far as what kind of roles you can do, what kind of characters you can portray, but also, yes, to show, when you have that range in front of you, you have an idea of what this person's specialty is. We all have our specialties. The few productions that I've worked on, apparently I found out my specialty is kind of creepy horror type movies, and that's great. I love those movies. I didn't always love them, but I don't know. It's like my early 20s, I really started getting into them, and I think they're really, really fascinating. I think it's a great genre, and that's fine. I love doing that. I guess I'm kind of a creepy, scary looking guy, so that works out good. But yeah, make a demo reel, make a YouTube channel, and get lots and lots of video with great audio, great picture quality, first and foremost. That way the technical aspects are not distracting. And then have lots and lots of video of you speaking into the camera, you demonstrating something you're passionate about. Let's say you're passionate about cars. Let's say you're passionate about cooking, culinary arts, whatever it may be. And have, see if one of your friends can help you shoot it. Have lots and lots of video. And I'm guilty of not having enough of that. You can check out my YouTube channel. It's Ricky Harris Media. Check that out, and I need to put more stuff up there. I do have a couple of videos talking about video production, and I'm going to get more into that on this episode, actually, kind of the how-tos. But that is really good stuff to have. It handles so much of what they're looking for and what they're curious about. What kind of person I'm going to be working with? What kind of personality do they have? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Just like any job interview. You have it right there. And that is the beauty of the time that we live in as far as the high-speed information age that we live in and the affordability of this equipment. And even if you don't have all this equipment, a dedicated room to put a studio in, all of that, you can do like 99% of it with your phone with the right techniques and some very expensive add-on hardware, and you can get some amazing results for demos. And really, they've shot commercials with these. I'm sure you've seen the Apple commercials with the iPhone, and Samsung has done that. Google Pixel, you have a cinema camera in your hand if you have a smartphone, any modern smartphone. But learning certain techniques on shooting and capturing, that is what makes it cinematic. That's what makes it dramatic. That's what separates your reality that you're in right now, separates that, blocks it out, and really gets you engaged in what you're watching. Is great technique. Again, that YouTube channel, my YouTube channel is Ricky Harris Media. That's all one word, RICKY Radio. That's not right. Nope. Ricky Harris Media. That's great. Just confuse everybody. Ricky Harris Media. All one word. So check that out. I want to talk a moment about, okay, so you have a phone, right? I would definitely invest, and I say invest. They're like tens of dollars invest in a microphone. Get a wired microphone. I on my YouTube channel I demo one, but it plugs into, which would normally be the headphone jack, but I found you can use the headphone adapter. So if your phone came with one of those Lightning or USB-C to tip ring sleeve 1/8 inch connections, use that adapter, plug this into that microphone, and the camera will allow you to switch to that microphone. And there you go. You've got a clip-on mic, a lavalier microphone. And wow, great audio. When you have great audio in video, that is like a bulk of it. About not making, not having technical bugs be distracting in the video, having great audio. And that's a great way to do it. Okay, another tip I don't know if it's necessarily less important, but it's kind of like the final polish to make it look more cinematic, to make it look more professional. This takes a little more care, a little more time, but this will make the video look really good. Talking about using a phone, using what you have. You can use an older camera. Hopefully they have these features of doing this. So what you want to do is you want to set the focus to manual. So what that does is that keeps the focus from swishing around, because that swish between, especially stuff being out of focus, because I've found, autofocus has gotten better in recent years, but it's still not there. You'll have it swishing back and forth, and a lot of times you'll see, something in the foreground that you're demoing or you're demonstrating, and it'll be just out of focus, but the background is just absolutely gorgeous. But that's not the focus of that at that moment. So what you can do is lock the focus. A cinematic trick that they'll use, not so much anymore, but they definitely used it back in the motion picture days. They would actually take a seamstress tape, a fabric tape measure, hold it out to the lens of the camera, and hold it out to the subject, measure that distance, and set your focus to that distance. The lenses sometimes will have that distance on there, depending on what kind of camera you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a more professional camera, even if it doesn't, you can still use that distance as a reference to know where focus is going to be. Like saying that you're shooting by yourself, you don't have anyone helping with. This is a great way to know that. You can set your focus to where your camera is at arm's length, and you do a little bit of zoom to compensate for that distance, but at least when your arm's stretched out, that distance, if you keep it all the way stretched out and you're shooting yourself, that distance is never going to change. And then keep that in mind when you turn the camera to show something, keep that distance the same. That will look amazing with not having that focus swish around. It won't be distracting, and it just gives it that cinematic look. Another tip, this is going a little further on, kind of more final polish. It's not super critical, but locking exposure. So basically, you lock down the exposure like on a smartphone. You'll tap the image for it to lock at exposure, and a little lock symbol will come up. You can do that. But that's a little more tricky. You really need a dedicated camera operator for doing that, because, you might have some very, very bright spots and some completely dark spots in your video. And, okay, The very, very final one. Now, there we're talking about getting into more professional video cameras that allow you to do this. Some smartphones allow you to do this. Well, actually, some consumer cameras allow you to do this to some degree, is manual white balance. The manual white balance is basically a reference to tell the camera what kind of color temperature the light in that environment is, telling the camera what the colors should be. Especially when you're shooting inside, but you have a lot of outside light kind of coming in. If you want to light up your face so you're not backlit, a couple things. You want to get a light source that's similar in color temperature, around 5,000 Kelvin to match the sunlight. You can do that with different filters too on the light. If your light's not one of those fancy ones where you can actually just change the color temperature with a knob, those are really fancy. But also adjust your white balance and find you a happy medium. Let's say you can't do that. All you have is a flashlight and it's like 3,000 and you've got this bright middle of the day, like 6,000 K sunlight. Well, you can find your happy medium if you have manual autofocus, and it doesn't necessarily have to have a white card where you put it in front of the camera and white balance on the white card. You can find a happy medium, put it on cloudy. Just see what looks best. Cloudy, sunny, those different white balance modes, and then just leave it on that. And that's the great thing about color viewfinders on cameras now, and you can immediately see what it's going to look like, and you can play it back immediately. We live in great times as far as technology goes. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to the Ricky Harris Media Podcast. Next week, going to talk more about doing audio voice acting. Talk about setting up your home studio with very little, and also talk about setting up your home studio when you do have more equipment and more options. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out. Again, it's on Spotify, Ricky Harris Media, all word on YouTube, and iHeartMedia. Make sure to share this podcast to someone that may be interested in this. All right. Have a good one. See you guys and gals next month. Later. Bye.